Hey everybody. Had a good holiday, I hope. Had a good Christmas and enjoyed your family and maybe got a lot of rest and got a lot of things done. We had a good Christmas here at our house and we're thankful that we were all together. My husband's well, he's better. And I never had any symptoms of COVID, but we're thankful for that. But tonight we are going to start and get back in the swing of things. So we're going to do a man glitter tonight. And we're going to see how it goes. I've tried it a couple of different ways. So I think this way maybe will help some of you like it helped me. I hope it does. And I'm going to see if I can get you pulled up on the screen. So give me just a minute and let's see if we can find where we are. And I hope the internet does good tonight. Just never know around here about the internet. We got it to working, and the first night after they come out and changed everything, it really did good. So I'm hoping that we can get it to do good again. So far it doesn't look like it's interrupting. I hadn't seen any interruptions. So remember, when I'm doing a live, I don't normally answer questions. I wait till the live's over and I go back and I'll answer any questions that you've got. So just know that I'm not ignoring you, that it's just something that I try to get through the tutorial rather than taking up time answering questions. So I'll go back and answer the questions tonight, and if I don't get your question answered tonight, I'll do it tomorrow. So I appreciate everybody joining, and we're going to turn you down now, and we're going to get started on a man glitter cup. Now, make sure I got you where you can see everything. I've got it on my computer, so give me just a minute with the lag, and let's see if we've got it to where you can see the cup. I may have to raise it a little bit because this is a big cup. This is a 40-ounce tumbler. So I think it's good enough that you can see it. But most of you know, if you've watched my tutorials, when I prep my cup, I tape the top, I tape the bottom, then I sand, and then I clean, and then I spray paint. So I spray painted this one black. And now to put on the man glitter is flakes of paint. So to put that on, I'm going to use a spray adhesive. And it's one that I can spray here in the house. It's E6000. You can use any spray adhesive you want to. You can use the aerosol can. But I like this because the fumes are not as strong. But now anytime you use this, when you get through, be sure and take a paper towel, wet it with alcohol, and clean here where the spray comes out. Keep that clean. And then before you use it, you want to shake it really good. Shake it really good when you use it. And for this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour some of the man glitter out in this cup. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to sprinkle it on with this little spoon. And I'm just going to do it a little bit at a time. I'm not going to try to pour it on heavy like you pour it on if you're doing any other kind of glitter. So I've got my big trash can over here to my right, and that's what I'm going to be holding my cup over so that I can spray it on it. So you'll be able to see it when I spray it on there. And I'm going to spray it on all of it. I may have to go back and spray it a little bit more, but I'll show you where I sprayed it. Okay, you can see where I've sprayed it on there. And now I'm going to take the man glitter and I'm just going to put it on just a little bit at the time. And this does take a lot longer, but in the long run it really makes a difference because this, you don't want it sticking up. If you stick it up, then you're going to have to do a lot of sanding when you get ready to sand. And I can't get my little cup to be still. There we go. Prop it against my computer. But we'll do this, and then I use parchment paper to pat it down. But I'll show you how I do it with the parchment paper. But as we do this, remember, I could pour it on, but you don't want to do that. or I don't do it that way. Let me say it that way. You do it ever how you want to do it, because it's your cup. You've got to figure out what works for you. And I just figured out after doing a couple with man glitter that this works for me. I found that if I put it on like I put it on regular glue, regular glitter, then I have a mess, because then it has all kind of ends sticking up. Now see how those ends, can you see how they'll stick up? But then I'll go back in and pat them down. And when I pat them down, then they're gonna lay down, so when I get ready to do my epoxy on it, then I can have those laid down. And I'll show you something else that I learned to do by doing it with, since I tape off the top and bottom, of how to get it so that it won't leave something hanging over the edge when I pull the tape off. And you want to paint your color, what is your primary color for your glitter, or what you want to use for the primary color. Now this man glitter is black and blue, as you can see. So I painted my cup black, and I did it black because I wanted that to be the primary color on it. And with it painted black, it's not something that you've got to cover the whole cup like you would cover if you were using regular glitter. You can just cover part of it. And you can see where the glitter, the glue has run around the cup, and that's okay too. It's not going to hurt anything. And then we will pick some of this man glitter up and put it back in our container, just like we do with the regular glitter. And what we'll do with this, once I get the glitter on here, I may have to go back and spray a little bit more with the glue in some spots. And if I do, we'll get that on there. But then I'll let this dry completely. And when it dries, then I'll go back and spray it with Rust-Oleum 2 times clear. I use gloss. A lot of people, they don't like gloss. They'd rather use semi-gloss. I use matte paint if I'm doing anything else, but when I'm putting a coat over glitter of any kind, I like the gloss, because with regular glitter, I want to keep the shine to it. With this, it really, I guess, would not matter, because you don't have a shine that you're worrying about. But that's all I buy in the clear is gloss, so that's what I'll use. But any other paint that I'm using, I always use a matte in the 2 times Rust-Oleum. And I like that because it is a primer as well as a paint, and it doesn't take near as much. But anytime you're doing your painting, don't get in a hurry. It's better to do 2 or 3 light coats when you're painting than to get in a hurry and want to rush and get it covered really good and put too much on there, and then it starts running. Because if it runs, it is going to show your paint will. Normally, if I've got any runs in mine, I'll go back and take some acetone and a rag, a cloth rag, and rub off those runs, and then sand it to blend in with the rest of the cup. And then I paint it again very lightly. But if you'll do several light coats rather than doing a lot of one heavy coat, you'll find that your painting comes out much, much better. Now, I've seen people do these and put real heavy coats on there. Normally, if I'm putting glitter on, I do it with the epoxy method. But this, I'm not doing the epoxy method because I do want to make sure that it's down really good with these paint flakes. And I will go back after I get through with this, and if I need to, I will use the parchment paper. Now I'm going to put some of this back in my little dish I've got here. And like I said, the reason that I'm using the spoon and just putting it on it a little at the time is because it does help it to lay down a little bit better. Because you're not just piling it on there. And with the black background, you're not going to have complete coverage. You just want it showed so that the man glitter really shows, but you don't have to have it covered solid. And you can already see some spots like right in here where I'll go back and just spritz that with some of the glue and put a little bit more on. But this is going to be a 3-part. This is part 1 tonight. I don't, since we've been over prepping your cup, I usually always have my cup prepped and ready to go when I come on alive, rather than taking the time to paint the cup and then let it dry, or drying it with the heat gun. There's a long piece. Get that out of the way. But I have an idea for this cup that I think it's going to make a person, I hope, very happy. But this is Black Bear glitters, and if you want to order any, you can go to their page, blackbearglitters.com, and use the code in all caps, Judy Roars 20, and get 20% off of any order for the glitter. And I do know that they're posting about 60 new glitters now. They're in the process of it. They've been in Texas, I think, for maybe a week, 5 days, somewhere around in there. So they'll be home and getting everything going, and I think they're ready to get home and get busy. You know, we cuppers and people that have products for cuppers, we just want to work all the time, I think, most of us. I know when I go on vacation, I'm all the time, my mind's just going as to what I want to do next with a cup. An idea that I've got next to do a cup. Now you can see in here there's some places where the glue has sort of started drying, especially right in here. And I'll have to go back and touch that up. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to go ahead and get all of this on there and touch all of it up, and then I'll go back and spritz it just a little bit more. And you can tell where it's dry because it just immediately slides off of the cup. Like right up there at the top where I just showed you. Right in here. And it's going to be the same way right over here. It'll slide off, but you can tell some of these places where it's still on there pretty good. Now these are real pretty to make cups for men. It's something that I think they like. And this one, I'm not sure. I was thinking about, even when I get through with it, maybe doing the method to where it doesn't have any shine on it. Hadn't decided yet. We'll won't have to decide that until we get to the part 3. And when we get to part 3, then we'll make that decision. That in there is just real dry. Okay. I'm going to bump it good. Get this back in my container, and then we'll spritz it a little bit more in those spots that's dry. Then we'll pat it down. And then we'll be through with part 1, because this will have to dry. I want the glue to dry, and when the glue's dry, then I'll go back and spray it with 2 times Rust-Oleum. Let me see, my computer's gone down. Let me see. I think this one's still fine though. Okay, I'm going to shake it up in these spots like this. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to spritz it. And that's where, waiting for the top. When we did the bottom, then the top, it dried out before we could get to it. So we'll just put a little bit more on there. And this is totally different than working with regular glitter. You have to be patient, and you have to take your time, because it's not the same as using regular glitter. The flakes are so much chunkier, and they're just all different shapes. Sounds like popcorn popping where it's falling off. I love blue in anything. I like blue in anything. Blue's just a color I've always liked. If any of you've done anything with chunky man glitter, you need to post it so we can see it. And this, I will not pull the tape until I spray it with the clear coat. And once I spray it with the clear coat, then I will go back and pull the tape. And the others that I've done, that's where I learned what I'll show you in a few minutes. So if you tape the top and bottom. And most of you know that watch me know unless the customer just requests that it not be done, I always tape the top and bottom, especially the bottom, because if a customer drops their cup, 9 times out of 10 it's going to hit on the bottom. And I don't do baby bottles for that reason. I've got 8 grandchildren and another one on the way. And then after having my own children, babies throw bottles. And bottles are going to crack and mess up. And so I don't want people calling me telling me, oh, this cup cracked. Well, when you throw things, they have a way of cracking and breaking and chipping, and so for that reason I don't do baby bottles at all. I have grandsons in Texas, and I made them sippy cups, and the particular kind of sippy cup, the youngest one, he was I think 2 at the time, and he threw his sippy cup and broke the top on it. Not the epoxy, but the top that screws on that you drink out of, where the straw is. It broke that part of it. So, sippy cups are a hazard too. Now, this black doesn't really look black, but once you get it under epoxy, it will look black. I'm patting this down, and the more I pat it down, then I can see some spots that I'm going to have to spritz again. But you want this to dry smooth. You don't want it sticking up. Because believe me, the first one I did, I had some places sticking up. And you just can't hardly sand them to get it down to where they look right. So, hopefully maybe if you have not done one, then you can learn from what I learned. Okay. Right in here, there's some spots that are pretty bare. I think I'm going to spritz that just a little bit more. And the reason I do it this way is because I found I can get it to lay down better by doing it this way and not doing it heavy on there. Now there's some spots right down in here that's bare, if you can see them. Spritz that just a little bit. Get it on that and cover it good. Remember, this is not going to look like regular glitter. It is paint flakes. Okay. I think I pretty well got it this time. I'm going to have a lot to clean up. It sort of bounced everywhere, but I'll do that after we get through. Let me get a little bit of this glue off my hands. And now what I'm going to do around the tape with my X-Acto knife, I'm going around the top, and I'm just going to make sure anything that's where that tape is going to pull off, I push it down. And that way it's down off of where that tape is going to pull. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but I'm just pushing it down, getting it out of the way, making sure it lays flat right around where I'm going to be pulling the tape. And this will come back maybe Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon. Be Wednesday morning around 10 or Wednesday afternoon around 3 and do part 2. But I'm just going around and pushing that down, making sure it's not sticking over where my tape line is, where I'll be pulling the tape after I spray it with Rust-Oleum. Then I'll do it around the bottom where I've got the tape. And I'm doing this now so that I can bump it some more. And so it'll be a little bit drier, and then I can see any other spots that I need to go back in and touch maybe. Now I'll do the bottom. Now the bottom, my tape is right down here. The line on the cup is right here. That's just the way the cup's made. But my tape is down here further on the bottom. And I learned this too, because this is what made some spots really stick up, is when I pulled the tape and pulled it up, then it stood some of the man glitter straight up. And I certainly didn't want that sticking up on my cup, because you can't hardly sand it off once you get the epoxy on it. So this is totally different than working with regular glitter. Just keep that in mind when you start using it. But it makes a really good looking cup, I think, for men. I've got a paper towel over here that I keep wiping my X-Acto knife off on. Okay, I've got that all the way around. I'm going to bump it again and see if there's some spots that I need to go back and touch still. Now, let's go back around it and all these that are sticking up a little bit, see if we can mash them down. And you can also, when you do your Rust-Oleum, you can pat it a little bit more if any start sticking up when they start drying. And looking at it from an angle from the side, you can tell if they're sticking up and what you need to work on. This comes in several different colors. You can get a camo color. It's in black and red, sort of a, this is black and blue. And when you go on the website, you can, it shows all the different colors that they have in the man glitter. It looks like it's starting to lay down really good. Just keep patting and patting. You have to just take your time when you're working with this. Okay. Well, you can see. And sometimes when it starts drying, you will have a few that will start just sort of curling up. And if you do, then when you do your Rust-Oleum, then you can go back and you can dry it with that. And or as it dries, then you can pat it down with that. But that's all we got for tonight. And then tomorrow night, probably when I get home from the shop, I work with my son 2 days a week. Then I will put another coat of epoxy on it, because in the morning before I go, I'll spray the Rust-Oleum on it, because I want this glue to dry, because it's still sticky. And I want to make sure it's dry before I put the Rust-Oleum clear on it. And then when I put that on it, then when I get home tomorrow night, then I'll put a heavy coat of epoxy on it. And then I'll show you the next step that we're going to do with it. So it's going to be in 3 steps. And as we do the 3 steps, it's going to turn into something that I think a guy's going to like. So y'all have a great, great evening. And I'll see you again, either I'll announce that I'll do an event, or I'll either see you Wednesday morning at 10, or Wednesday evening at 3, and we'll do part 2. So y'all have a great evening, and if you've got any questions, be sure and leave them, and we'll get you some answers. And remember, for the 20% off in all caps, it's Judy Roars 20, and that's blackbearglitters.com. Thank you, and y'all have a good evening. Good morning, everybody. We're going to do a quick pop-up live just so I can show you why I'm not going live today to do part 2. When we did this man glitter tumbler, I had hoped the one coat of epoxy would cover it, but it did not. So I did go ahead and tape the top and bottom, and I've been sanding on it, but I saved one streak to show you why I had to go back and sand it. So you know how careful I was to lay it flat and to work with it and to get it flat. And still, after the epoxy, there's some spots that really needed sanding bad. And I'm also going to show you how, like right here, can you see that one white spot that when I sanded it, it sanded evidently the color off? How you can fix that before you put your epoxy on, if you come up with those on your man glitter. So I am going to turn you down and show you what I've done so far and what I'm going to do to remedy what happened. Okay, now I'm going to see if I can get you on the computer. And remember, when I'm working, I don't go in and look and see what's being said. I always go back after the fact, and that's when I go in and then work on any questions that you have and answer any questions that you have. So that's what we're going to do. And I've got on my dirty apron today, so you'll have to forgive me for that. Now let me turn my volume down so I won't be able to hear me. Okay, I've got you where I can see you now. All right. Now you can see, you can tell how milky it is where I have sanded it. Now this I left so you could see, and I hope it's where you can see how rough these spots are. I'll try to turn it sideways so you can see how this is sticking out and how these spots right here are. You know, as careful as I was, I still had to go back now and sand that. And I'm looking on the computer to see if maybe I can get it to where you can see it. I'm trying to turn it sideways so you can see the roughness of it. But anyway, I did go in and I sanded all the way around the top and the bottom, and then I sanded it all over through here. And like I said, this spot right here that's white, I'm going to show you how I'm going to touch that up to fix it. So we're going to go ahead now and we're going to sand this part right here. And you want to try to get it smooth as you can. And I'm not used to sanding. Usually I have it more in my lap when I'm sanding. So we'll try to see if we can do it this way. And you can see where it shows sort of gray looking. That's where all the spikes were sticking up on it. But as long as you get them smoothed down, now when we go back and do another coat, and you've got to have it smooth before you do your decals, because if you don't, let's say I sanded this like this and went back and put my decals on. I can put them on, but then this spot right here, all these little knots will show up under that decal. So you've got to have a smooth surface when you do a decal. If you're doing a water slide and you have glitter under it, and you want the glitter to be sparkly, you can't sand under that clear water slide, because if you do, it's going to look milky and cloudy under your water slide. It's not going to be shiny and sparkly. So we're going to go ahead and get this sanded really good, and then we'll clean it with alcohol. And then I'll show you how now right there, that spot right there, you can see that's where it repelled and it left sort of a fisheye looking place on it. And that all happened after I went to bed, so, but still, we can fix it with this. Get it sanded really good. And now I'm going to clean it with alcohol and a paper towel. And you can tell what spots are going to be white because when you put your alcohol on there while it's still wet, you can tell what's going to come out and be black and blue rather than have a white spot. So right there is a little speck of glitter. I'm going to see if I can sand that off. Because y'all know we never get glitter on cups that's not supposed to have glitter. Don't matter how well you clean your area, seems like it's like a magnet. Okay, and there's a few spots right there. You can see a couple of spots that sort of, they're not white, but they're not black and they're not blue. We'll touch those up. But be sure, and there's another little speck of glitter. First one was red, this one's green. Clean that up. And when you use your alcohol, like I said, you can tell what is going to shine back up and what is going to have a dark spot or a light spot or a gray spot. Wipe it all over so I can sort of see where those spots are. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my black paint. It's easier to match than the blue paint. And I'm going to put just a tad. That's just one drop. And this is the tiny, tiny brush that I'm going to be using. And I'm going to stick it in there. And then these spots, I'm just going to touch them up with the black. And then right here's the white one. And all I'm going to do is just touch it with the black. And I'm going to make it a squiggly shape so it sort of matches the other black spots. And when that dries, then we get the epoxy on it. Then it's not going to show. Oh, let me see if I see another one. Those gray ones that we saw, there's some glitter. I think I'm going to see if I can cover it up with the black. It's a green speck of glitter. That covered that one up. Let me see if I see any more glitter. Or any more. Now right here was the two spots I showed you a while ago that look sort of gray. I'm going to touch those with some black paint. Right there. And right there. And you don't want it to be on this cup. You don't want it to be just a spot because this cup has the black on it. The man glitter specks are just all over the place. They're not shaped any one way. Right now I'm turning it and looking for glitter spots. Right there's a little piece of red glitter because I had rather not have glitter on this, but you know, sometimes the best we can do is not good enough. Okay. Right now I'm not seeing any more glitter. Wait, right there's a little red spot right up here. Have to get it where the light will hit it just so if there's any on there, it'll do that little sparkle. Okay. I think I've got them all touched up now. And that's all I'm going to do. And now when I give those just a few minutes to dry, then I'll put another coat of epoxy on it. And I'm not going to stay online for y'all to see me put another coat of epoxy on it. But I did want to come in and show you sometimes what you run into when you hope you're through with that cup. Right here's a spot that I want to do. But when you hope you're through with that cup, and you may have some spots show up that you have to sand and you have to work on a little bit, it's okay. Because you can go back and usually there's a way where you can fix it if that happens. So that's how we're fixing that with just the black paint after we sanded it. And now I should be able to get a good smooth coat. So when I go back to put the decals on, it's going to be a smooth finish for me to do the decals. But I wanted to do a pop-up so that I could just show you what happens and how you can fix it. So y'all have a great rest of the day, and we will do part 2 on this at 10 o'clock on Friday morning, and I will put it in the events. And if you want to be notified in the events, you need to put check on there when it comes up, going and interested, and then it will send you a notification that the live is starting, or the time for the live to start. So y'all have a great rest of the day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Good morning, everybody. This is Saturday morning. We're going to be doing part 2 of our man glitter tumbler, and this is a 40 ounce. When I turn you down, I'll explain the process. And of course, blue's my color. The color of this man glitter is called Law Enforcement. And I guess I chose it just because I like blue. I don't know. But anyway, it turned out really good. And I'll explain to you the process that we went through to make it work. And then I'll explain to you the process that we're going to do part 2 today. So I'm going to turn you down. And then in the meantime, I am going to see if I can get you pulled up on my computer. So give me just a minute. I like to do that so I can see, make sure, you know, that I keep the tumbler in frame so that you can see it. Just a minute. It pulled up the wrong thing. Let me go back and see. If I can get it going. If I don't, well, then we'll just go forward anyway. Sometimes with the delay, I can't get it to pull up, so we'll just have to see what we can get it to do today. Sometimes it cooperates with me, and sometimes it does not. So, hey, I can't believe it. It's working. Let me get it to where now if I can see. Sometimes I can answer comments and sometimes I can't. But just remember, it's always a replay. And remember, you can go back and any questions that you have or comments, I will go back and answer them. So just be sure and leave them in the comments and we will get you some answers. Okay, now this is the a 40 ounce. And what I did, I taped the top and bottom. I sand and prep. And then I painted the base black. I would use the primary color of the glitter as my base, and that way when you have spots that don't get glitter on them, they're not going to be as noticeable. So after I did that, I used E6000 and spritzed that on there for the glitter. And then I put the glitter on just a little bit at a time, so that I could go in and pat it down. You can't apply man glitter like you do regular glitter. It just doesn't work. I've tried it several different ways, and this way works the best for me. But you have to figure out what works best for you. But then I put the glitter on there, and then I pat it down once I get it all over it. And if I've got some spots that look like they need more glitter, then I'll spritz a little bit more of the E6000. You can use any spray adhesive that you want to. This is what I had on hand, so this is what I used. I like it because I can hold it over the trash can. There's not a bad odor, and I can do it inside. But that's what I did, and then once that dried, then I sprayed it really good with Rust-Oleum 2 times clear, and I use gloss. Some people use matte, some people use semi-gloss, but I use gloss because that's what I use on Waterslides. But I sprayed it good with that, and then once that dried, then I retaped the top and bottom because I had pulled the tape off after I spray painted it with the Rust-Oleum. And then once it dried, then I put the tape back on, and then I put on a good coat of epoxy. But then I did have to go back and put on a second coat of epoxy because I still, as much as I worked with it and patted it down, I still had some spots that were sticking up really, really bad. And even now, right there's one spot. I can feel it. I don't know if you can see it, but it's one spot, but it'll be fine when we get the next coat on it. And then this time I had 2 spots that I did hit with the sander just a little bit. But what we're going to do now, I'm going to put snow around the bottom. So to put the snow around the bottom, I've got some saran wrap that I'm just going to wad up around the top because I don't want that to get on the top. So that way I don't have to tape it off. I can just use the saran wrap. And then I'm going to put some white snow on the bottom. So if you'll give me just a minute, I'm going to step over here and I'm going to spray this white around the bottom. Give me just a minute. Won't take long. I have to shake my paint up a little bit to get that done. Okay, that didn't take long. Now, as you see, this is where we did the snow, and I'm going to go back now and I'm going to use my heat gun, and I'm going to dry it. And I didn't do it real white, if you'll notice, because this is a light dusting of snow. So let me go back and excuse the sound, but I'm just going to dry it with my heat gun so we can go forward with the process. Okay, now I'm going to take a rag and I'm going to wet it with alcohol. And then in here where we've got real straight lines, I'm just going to dab it so that they're not so straight, because I don't want it to be real straight across there. I don't want it to look like we just painted it on there. So and you have to press pretty hard. But I just want to do away with that straight, choppy line. And that's what I'm doing now. I just put alcohol on my rag and just rub it. I guess you can hear it squeaking. And we'll do away with that straight line. Because you know, when snow, most of the time, unless it's falling on something that does have a flat surface, a straight line, like if you're looking out your back deck and on the railing, you may have a straight line of snow, but everywhere else where it blows and drifts, it's not a straight line. Okay, now that's better. Let me look and make sure I like it all the way around. Yeah. That works better. Okay, we've got that done. And now we're going to put some decals on here. Normally I don't put decals on right over the paint. I usually epoxy it first, but on this one I am. And I've got a mama bear and a papa bear. And I've got some footprints that are water slides. And then for this particular one, I've got some little friends. They're not bears, they're little Dachshunds. So we're going to be putting those on there. And when you put these on, you'll want to put it on and pull it off pretty quick, because you don't want your paint to come up with it. And these spaces in my A's wanted to come up. Okay, now we've got Papa Bear. Now we're going to put Mama on this side, and she's walking toward Papa. Having to get it to come up off of the release tape. Okay, now we've got Mama and Papa. And now we're going to put on some of these little cuties. All of it to stick. Okay, now we've got that on there. And now what I'm going to do next is let me get some water. I don't have water down here where I work. My studio's in the basement, so I have to bring water down when I use it. And then if I use it, then to dump it, I've got me a big, huge tea pitcher that I put it in when I dump it. And then that way I don't have to take it out right then. I can take it out as that tea pitcher fills full, and I take it out in the yard and dump it. So, okay, so now let's see about some of these footprints. We're not going to have a lot of space for footprints, but we want a few on here. And if you'll notice right here, I've got some puppy prints, and these are bear prints. So we're going to go with some of these bear prints and some of the puppy prints. And I'm going to cut them apart. Just let them drop in the water. And then the puppy prints, I'll do them the same way. I've got 3 little sets of puppy prints, so we'll see how they go. And we're just going to scatter them through the snow. And then what I'm going to do while those get ready, I'll explain to you. I've got some mountains and some trees. And now this is clear waterside. And a lot of it's not going to show up when I first put it on. But as I put it on, I'm going to go back. And in this area here, I'm going to fix some water. And then on these trees, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to paint some snowcaps. And on these mountains, I'm going to go back and I'm going to paint some snowcaps because that's not going to show on here. So that's the idea of what we're going to do. So we'll have a look similar to this where we'll have snow on our trees and snow on our mountains. But that's the plan right now. So let's go back and see what we can do about some paw prints now. Okay, right here we're putting paw prints, and let's see, right here, let's see if we can get them to where they look like they're going the right way. Let's put maybe now I got my water slide is hanging just a little bit on my tape, so I'm going to hold it down and cut the clear part of the water slide off because I don't want it on my tape. When I epoxy it, then it will pull up that water slide if I don't cut it and get it off of the tape now. So let's see. There it is. I don't know if you can see it, but that's the little piece I cut off. And I cut it off because if I didn't, then when it dried and I put epoxy on it, then it would pull up when I pull the tape off. So just make sure if you're leaving water slide on there before you epoxy it, that you go ahead and you cut it off. And right there, I don't know if you can see it, but there is a speck of glitter. It just amazes me. I don't know where it comes from. And I just painted it. Oh well. I can't get it to come off. It must be under the water slide. Okay, now let's see some little puppy prints and see what we can... These little jewels, we're just going to put them on here just to be cute. We want them on here just to be cute. See, I'm going to take my scissors and trim that, and then I won't have to cut it with the X-Acto knife. But just little added touches make it pretty, I think. Okay. That's one set. And now these will be going in another direction, so I'm going to trim that. To be under this puppy's feet. And then I've got one more set. Make sure they're going the right way. Okay. Now we've got our little puppy prints and a few bear prints. And now I'm going to look at doing, now what I'm going to do with this before I put it on there, since it's a water slide, I'm going to go ahead and cut this apart. Because with this cup shaped like it is, I'll never get it straight if I don't. So, because of the cup curving, you always want to cut away a lot, but I wanted you to see why I'm cutting it away. And then I may have to slice it a little bit more after I get it on here, but we'll see. Drop that in my water. Mash it down just a little bit, and I've got warm water. I found that the water slides work much better with warm water than they do cold water. Sometimes cold water will make them crack and have a crackle look. Temperature has a lot to do with water slides and paint and epoxy, anything that you're working on. And while those are soaking, I've got another one. It's just a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and cut it apart, and then I'll put it in the water after I start working with the others. Just cutting it apart makes the application much easier. Helps it to give a little bit when you start around that odd shaped cup. And these are the mountains, just trimming them in so they'll apply a little bit easier. And like I said, then again, we may have to go in and slice them a little bit more to make them lay down, but we'll deal with that when we come to it. And this is the mountains for the other one. And remember, we're going to go in after we get these on and dry them, and then we're going to add some snow caps. And we'll do that with white paint and a paintbrush. And remember, I'll answer any questions after the live. Now, and usually, like I said, when I do my water slides, I usually like to do them on epoxy, but in this case, I'm not. They slide and move to replace them and reposition them a lot better when they're on epoxy, because it has a slick surface, where this is a matte finish where I'm placing them now. And they don't move as easy. And I'm putting the trees down here in the snow so that they'll show up a little bit more. And the way this cup curves, you have to work with it sometimes a little bit. Right there's a little wrinkle. Put a little bit more water under there. There you go. And that helps it smooth out. And right in here's a little bit of a wrinkle where it's starting up the side of the cup. And what I'm going to do there, I am going to put another slice in there, right up through here in between the trees. And that will help it lay a little bit better. There you go. Now that helped it to smooth out, smooth right down. Okay. Now I'm going to put my other trees in. Putting it in the warm water. And the mountain. But now I'm going to apply the mountains that go above these trees. And we may have to go in and look at cutting these a little bit more to lay them down. But I'm letting them go up right above where the snow line is. and smoothing it down using a brush, a wet brush. And right now, where it goes up into the black, it's not showing really well. But when I go in and put some snow caps on it, then it'll make those mountains pop. And we'll do that with white paint. And I'm getting the water out now, blotting it dry. And I'll dry this a little bit with the heat gun so that you can see where I'm doing the snow caps. And that needs to stay in just a little bit longer. While it's in there, we'll clean up our mess. I'm by my mess here on my desk like I am my mess in my kitchen. I like to clean as I go. That way when I get through eating supper, I can just sit down and relax rather than having to stay in the kitchen. And then when we get through, we are going to take a brush and put a little bit of white paint on it, and we're going to flick it on here so it looks like snow is falling all up in this area up in here on the tumbler. Okay, let's see if this one's good enough to turn loose now. Likes just a little bit more. You don't want it to where you gotta fight it to get it off. You want it to where it's gonna come off easy. And as it comes off easy, then that way you're not as apt to mess it up. And I don't know where all these little specks are coming from. Now I see where they're coming from. The paper I've got on here, where it's getting wet, it's coming off of that. I should have put a mat under there. Alright. Now this one I'm going to line it up with my other trees so that they meet. Okay. And now right here I can see, because of the curvature on the cup, I'm going to go in and I'm going to cut this apart. Right here, make two parts out of it. We'll lay this one back in the water while I get this one where I want it. When I cut it, I sort of pulled it away from this one over here. Okay. Now cutting it apart will allow me to bring it further down on the cup, where before it was sort of going up the cup. And I didn't want that. I wanted it to stay down in the snow. And if you'll notice, I've still got them, they're meeting all the way around. And that's the specks that's coming off of the paper. Okay. Now let's get this one straight over here. Pushing the water out. I'm going to get me a dryer towel. pat it dry. Okay, now we've got our other mountains we're going to put on. I'm going to start them right over where these mountains are, except I'm going to take them up just a little bit higher. There we go. Take my brush and smooth the water out. And like I said, the mountains aren't showing up real good because they don't have the snow caps on them, and they're starting to go up into the black and blue up on the top of the cup in the man glitter. And I'm wiping my brush, and then I'm drying my brush on my paper towel to get the water out of it, and that way it keeps it pulling more water out if I keep wiping the water off of the brush. And these are the ones that we're going to go back and we're going to put some snow caps on them, and that will make them show up a little bit better. And we're going to put snow caps on all these trees because it is snowing in the woods here, folks. And this one, I think I'm going to go in and set this tree in there too, and we'll see what it looks like, and if we don't like it, we'll take it off. And right now, I am going to hop up and look for a mat to go under this so that paper won't keep sticking to it. Give me just a minute. I've got a mat here that I haven't opened. I found this one at Walmart and liked it, so it's a baker's mat. And it's silicone. So now I should have done that to begin with so that paper wouldn't stick to it. But I didn't, so. And I see right here there's a wrinkle in that one I want to fix. I have to put a little bit more water on it where the tree wrinkled up. There we go. And down here in my bear, I'm going in and rubbing a wrinkle out of it. And I rubbed off my paw print. I think I may go back and put a few more paw prints on here. I'll go ahead and drop them in the water. Okay. Now let's see where, maybe the mat wasn't a good idea. Now the mountains are wanting to stick to the mat. Oh, my goodness, all the way around. Well, let's go back. Make a note that when you're working with water slides and you put them on paper, the paper comes off on your water slide. And then make a note that when you're working with a silicone mat and the water slides aren't fully dry and you roll it around on the silicone mat, then your paws come off and your mountains come off. My paws are laying here on the mat. Let me get them up and get them in the water so I can put them back on. Puppy paws. There's some bear paws. See if there's any more that came off. So, can't use this when working with water slides, so let's put it over out of the way and let's see if maybe some wax paper will work. Maybe it won't stick and maybe it will keep that paper from sticking to it. Trying a lot of new stuff here today, folks. That's like I said, I usually always put my water slides on a cup that has been epoxied. And I'm looking back at my mountains, smoothing them out where they stuck to that silicone. I think they're okay now. And then right here where these two overlap, I think that's where I'm going to put this. See how it works. We'll put this tree on here and see what happens. It's not going to show a lot, but it does make it blend a little, so I'm going to leave it on there. Okay, now let's see if we can get our paw prints back on there, and then we'll use the heat gun and dry the water slides, so then I can put some white acrylic paint on there to cap the trees and cap the mountains. Okay, there's those paw prints. Let's see which puppy's missing prints. Let's see. Well, I know I put puppy prints down in that tray, but I don't see them now. They're so tiny. We're just putting a few more, just for looks, bear paws on here now. And I'm looking in this water, folks, and I don't see those little puppy prints that I dropped in here. They've just disappeared. So that puppy just won't have any prints. We'll just have them share prints. Okay, now I'm going to take my heat gun. And I'm just going to try to dry the water slides a little bit. Because we want to go in and cap them. But you can see how it's looking now. And I don't know if any of you have figured out yet who this cup is for. I just looked over and I saw where somebody asked, are those wiener dogs? Well, this person has dogs, so we're going to have their puppies running around with the bears. And yes, they are. So now I'm just going to take my paint. And those I don't think are completely dry, but for this process, we'll go ahead and put some of the snow caps on there so you can sort of get an idea of what it's going to look like. And I've got a, I don't know if you can see it, a tiny, tiny brush. I don't know if you can tell, but that's what I'm going to be using. Just a tiny, tiny brush. And just brushing some snow caps on top of these mountains. And we'll just brush them so that you can just, it's just going to make them pop a little bit. And you don't have to brush a lot. We're just putting it on here just so that it will make the mountains pop a little bit. That way you can sort of see where they peak. And then we'll go back and do the trees. And when you get your epoxy on here, this will make it look really good. But it just makes this black outline of your mountains really pop and show up. Get a little bit more of that off. And I'm trying to keep it where you can see what I'm doing. I'm no artist, but I am putting snow caps on here, so. And the snow caps, the mountains, I can see the outline, so that way I know where to put them. And like I said, it doesn't take a lot. You just want enough on there so that it makes that black outline of your mountains pop. We're almost through with the mountains. Okay, now I'm going to go back. Let me let you see that. And then I'm going to go back and I'm just going to touch the on the trees. We're going to give them a little bit of a snow cap. If you remember, I showed you this picture of this tree that has the snow caps all over it, and that's what we're going to do with all these green trees. And I'm just using little wispy strokes to go around the trees where the outline of the trees is. Don't want a lot of paint on your brush. Just lightly. And now we're just going to feather some snow in the trees. Okay. I wish I could do this and read comments and answer questions, but I can't. I'm sorry. Right there, got a little bit too much paint, so I'm going to dab that just a little bit. There we go. And I've just got a little, this is just a little paint palette that I got at Dollar Tree. I think there's, I don't know if there's 3, 4, ever how many's in there for $1. And they have really come in handy. I use them all the time. I use them for glue. I use them for paint. Especially when I'm doing tie-dyes. And you want to leave a little bit of the green showing. You just don't want it covered completely. And I sort of like the brown on these trunks, so I may go back and on all these trunks add just a touch of brown for the tree trunks, but that way you can sort of see what I'm doing. And this is all I'm going to be doing, and then I'm going to splatter the paint on here. So I guess I could go ahead and splatter it. Well, no, then I might smear it. Thought I might go ahead and do that, so if you didn't want to watch all this, you don't have to sit here and watch me do this, because this is going to be time consuming. But you can always leave and then come back and watch the replay and fast forward it to where you can see what I've done so far. Okay. But I think this is just going to add a nice winter touch to this man glitter and just sort of help it to pop. And when you're using acrylic paint on your tumbler, you do not have to seal it before you do your epoxy. I read a comment earlier on another cup that someone had said they did a dirty pour and then they were going to seal it before they epoxied it. Well, if you're doing acrylic paint, you don't have to seal it. If you're using an oil-based paint, doing a hydro dip or anything like that, say you were using an oil-based paint to do what I'm doing now, you would have to seal it because the epoxy will repel that oil-based paint. But if you're using acrylic, you do not. Now there's something different about the oil base that you paint on than in a spray can. I know a lot of people use matte all the time in a spray can because it doesn't repel like a gloss does. I know I've heard Rick say there's a chemical reaction in the gloss paint that it makes it repel the epoxy. I think he's the one I heard say it. Okay, we're almost around. Didn't know we were that close to being through with it. Get that off of that right there where I want to paint that trunk. Okay, now I think you can see the trees where we've done them, the mountains where we've done them. I think I may go back in and put a few more smudges. Let me get all the paint off. Just down on the mountains a little bit. Not a lot, but just a few. Okay, now I'm out of paint. Put a little more. And then I'm going to have to get up and go get the brown paint because I had not planned on doing that. But I think as good as, where'd it go? This one looks. I think the brown will add another added touch to it too. Okay, now let me jump up right quick and get some brown paint. I'll be right back. Luckily, I had some sitting over there on the table that I had used before. Won't take much. It's not quite as dark as I would like, but we'll use it anyway. Now I'm going to clean the white out of my brush. Okay, now let's see what this adds to these. We may still have to get back and use the darker. I think that's going to be just enough to see pretty good. And I got some white on it. I don't want that. Let me turn that around. Don't like that. I think a darker brown would have worked a little better, but I'm going to go ahead and go with this one. Just for the sake of time. Okay. And that spot right there looks like this spot right here. It looks like where I may have scratched it. So I'm just going to barely touch it with some white paint, and I'm going to put it on my paper towel. And see if I can do away with that spot. I don't want to scratch it. I can't tell what it is. Oh, I see what it is. It's a piece of the water slide. Okay. Cut it a little bit more. I'm not cutting deep because I don't want to cut the cup. Now, I'm going to go back in with water and try to get off a little bit of that I put on there. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to do the splatter. Let me get what I need to do it. Now this is just a coarse bristle brush, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of the white paint. Let me get something to put it on so it won't. There we go, there's a piece of that. I'm going to put it on my brush like this, and then I'm going to spray some water on this to mix it in there because I don't want it thick when I splatter it. Because we want it to look like little snowflakes. Now I'm going to dab it on this piece of paper. And I'm going to put on a trusty glove so I don't get it all over my hand. And I'm going to try to do it right here so that You can see. Can you see how that's just barely putting snow on there? Okay, that's all we need. Now, can you see the snowflakes on there? By putting water in it, that way it doesn't have big hunks that splatter on there. Okay, and that is all that we can do to that cup now till it dries completely. And I did get splatters all over this hand, but that's all we can do to it now until it dries completely. And once it dries completely, then we'll put another coat of epoxy on it. And I see a spot I need to clean up on that bear's paw. See right there where I smeared it? I want to get that off of the bear. And I'm going to get another paper towel. And we're going to get this off of the bear. Don't want them to have anything on them. We want them to pop. There's a wrinkle in that one. Okay. All right. All right. Well, that's all that we've got for right now. Let me get this out of the way so I can show it to you one more time. Okay, and that's the Papa Bear and the Mama Bear and their babies. And all their babies have got heart. See the little hearts on them. And that's all the decals that we're going to put on it. And then for part 3, I'll come in and do the epoxy. And when I do the epoxy, then we will pull the tape, and then we'll have a finished product. But I wanted you to see the process. Now that right there is where there's a little bit of a wrinkle in the vinyl where I did the mountains. So that won't show once we get the epoxy on it. But you can see that that man glitter made it look like a night sky more than anything. And then we've got our snow around the bottom and all of our trees. And we put snow caps on our mountains. And we put snow caps on our trees. So I'll go in later today and answer any of your questions that you've got, and I will post when we do part 3. And the only reason I'm gonna show part 3 with me putting the epoxy on and pulling the tape is because a lot of you like to see when to pull the tape. Everybody does it different, believe me. Some will wait and pull the tape in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but I pull my tape pretty much right away, and I always have a clear, crisp line around the tops of my cups. But anyway, that's the way I do it, and you'll have to figure out which way is the best way for you to do it. So I'll post a link, or rather post an event when we do our next live to finish this one. So I'm going to let everything get completely dry, and then we'll post that. So y'all have a great rest of your Saturday. Bye now. Hey everybody, I decided to go ahead and do our part 3 today, and that way we can go ahead and start something new on Monday. So I am back, and while I had you on at 10 this morning, I forgot to do the water. So I wanted to show you and tell you how I did that. You can see around the edge where I did go back and put some water so it shows that they're along a stream. But when I turn you down, I'll show you what I did and tell you what I did and how I did that. So I wanted to throw something else by you too. I've never had cups fall off the turner, but I've had a couple recently break. This is an adapter that I have that goes in my turner I bought from Rick, and then it also, I use it on my 6-cup turner, and this normally screws in this like this, and I guess because they're so old, because I've been using them for over 3 years, they're starting to break right here, and when it does, then this, when it breaks right in here, I don't know if you can see, but that gray up in there is where I had one break off in there. And when it does that, it's normally like this screwed up in there, and then it breaks off, and this part breaks off, and it leaves the inside in here. Now, my husband has been able to get them out and fix them for me so I can use them again. But I think what I'm going to do, since that has started happening, is just cut all of these off here, saw them off, and then buy new adapters and glue them back on there, so that maybe I won't have that happen. But they've been good because I've been using them constantly for 3.5 years. But I thought I would run that by you in case you had that happen or something, because I've never had a problem with cups falling off the turner. So today I'm going to be using one of my old turners that I got when I first started, that we made from a rotisserie grill. So I'm going to get the cup up on it, and when I do, then I'll turn you down and I'll explain to you how I did the water, and then we'll go ahead and put the epoxy on this cup. Let me get that turned on there. Okay, now this is a big cup. Remember, this one is a 40 ounce. Now let me see if I can get you pulled up where I can see and make sure I've got everything in the screen. Maybe it'll pull up quick like it did this morning. I hope so. Oh, I see part 2, but I don't see part 3 yet. Okay. I'm going to click on my name and see if it'll pull up that way. Yeah, there it is. Okay, now remember, when I'm doing the tumblers, I don't answer questions when I'm on the live. I go back and answer any questions or anything that you have afterwards. And I know Saturday is a busy day for everybody, because if I did not have a couple of days off during the week, or 3, then Saturdays would be really busy for me, getting grocery shopping and house cleaning and everything you have to do. But anyway, where I did the water, I started out with a small brush, and I used this acrylic paint. This is Caribbean. You can see the color of it here. And I went through and I just did a line all the way around. You can see where I did a line all the way around here showing the water. And then I went back with a small brush and I put some of this just in there to make it look like it was more than one color, like it was sort of flowing. And this one is called Too Blue, T-O-O blue. So those are the 2 colors that I used. And for those that's just joining in, this is Man Glitter, and we put it on. I have a part 1, a part 1.5, and then a part 2, and then this is part 3. So if you want to go back and catch up on how I did it, you can do that. But I did spritz and flick some snow all up in here so it looks like it's snowing on this beautiful mountain scene. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go in and we're going to put the epoxy on it. So when I do epoxy for this size cup, I do a full cup, tablespoon of A and a full tablespoon of B. I'm old school. I measure with spoons. I have ever since I started. I've never had a cup that did not come out and dry properly, cure properly. And I'd never had a cup fall off the turner until I've had these 2 that I showed you at the beginning where they broke. But there's always a first for everything. But it's just easier for me to measure with a spoon. And I do a heaping spoon of B first. That's a tablespoon. Now, if I were using glitter, I might, if this was a 40-ounce cup and it was covered in glitter, I would probably have to do 1.5 tablespoons, simply because the glitter soaks up so bad. I mean, it'll soak your epoxy up in a heartbeat. Even if you've applied it with the epoxy method, still when you go to put that top coat of epoxy over your glitter, then it does soak it up. And all of you that do cups, you know that. But there's always usually some new ones that's tuning in. But you can go back and you can watch all the parts. This one I did go back and do what I called part 1.5, because I wanted you to see with the man glitter I did have to do 2 coats of epoxy, but then it came out smooth. There was just a couple of places that I showed you earlier that I did have to just touch with the sandpaper after the second time. But you can't use man glitter like you use regular glitter. You have to put it on sparingly, and you have to really tap it down as you go. It's just a whole nother ball game. It is paint flakes, so you have to be really careful. Now, if you're interested in getting man glitter, you can get it from Black Bear Glitters, and if you need a link, you can let me know, and I can give you that. And if you'll use, for your first time orders, if you'll use Judy Roars 20 in all caps, you can get 20% off. So just keep that in mind. And then when I'm using Alumilite Amazing Clear Cast, I have not gotten the plus yet. I'm fixing to place an order for the plus, and at that point hopefully I'm not going to have to use this. But this is Casting Craft Transparent Blue, and I put not even a drop in my epoxy to keep it from yellowing. And since I've started doing that, I have not had any yellow. And then when I'm mixing this much epoxy, I set my timer, and I do stir it a full 4 minutes. I know some people don't. They don't stir that long, but I do. And now I can go back and look at some of the comments. Thank you, Regina. I'm thinking it's turning out pretty. The only thing I'm worried about, if you look right in here, you know, I told you normally if I put a clear water slide on, I always put it on a cup that's already got epoxy on it. And this is the reason, so that the lines on the water slide doesn't show. I think you can probably see it reflecting right in here, anywhere where I've got right in here. There's several places, but hopefully it will blend and cover up. We'll see. But excuse me, that's the main reason that you want to always go back and epoxy your cup before you put on a clear water slide, because it does help camouflage those lines around your water slides. I should have brought me some water down here. Hey, Christy. I think this one's turning out really good too. It's a really pretty cup, and I think you may even know who it's for if you've seen the whole cup. I think he'll be surprised. I hope he likes it. But I think it's turned out real pretty. But always scrape around the sides when you're stirring. And I know a lot of people, you know, they say that we need to use metal, and we need to use silicone to do the stirring. I've used all of it, and one to me is not any different than the other. The only thing I like about using the metal or the stainless steel or using the silicone is you can wipe it off and you don't have to buy more. You can keep using it over and over. And I do use them sometime, but 99% of the time I use popsicle sticks. Oh, Christy, you can watch everything later. It's, as you know, it's part 1, part 1.5, part 2, and this is part 3. I sure hope your dad gets better. Bless your heart, it's something we had to take care of my mom and dad, and we kept them at their house. But there's 3 of us girls, so we took turns seeing after them. And that way it worked out well for all of us. But as you can see, that casting craft, it put just a very little bit of a blue tinge to this, but it makes all the difference. I did a mommy and daughter Mickey Mouse tumbler set, and they turned out so pretty, and before I could even get them to a show or anything, they yellowed. I have not stripped them. I have not done anything else to them, but they did turn yellow, so I'm still trying to figure out something I may can do to go in and camouflage that. I don't know if there is or not, but I'll keep thinking. Hadn't had time to think about it too much because I've been too busy, but I'll go back and see if I come up with something and see if it works, and if it does, then I can share it with you guys. Okay, there's our 4 minutes. And then I'll let it set just a little bit, and after it sets just a little bit, then I'll go in and hit it with a heat gun to pop some of the bubbles. As you can see, there's lots of bubbles, but they'll sort of come to the top. And as they come to the top, then I'll go ahead and pop the bubbles. But I think this one, once we get the epoxy on it, it's really going to make a difference in the beauty of it. But I hadn't decided what we're going to start on Monday. So if anybody's got any suggestions, I'm thinking I've been wanting to do one of the, oh gosh, I don't know what they are. Let me show you. I forget what they're called, a stein or something. I grabbed these at Walmart. They're Ozark Trails. Yeah, they're called a beer stein set. But I'm thinking of doing it like a baseball bat, which would be wood grain. So that's something I'm thinking about doing with that. So we might do that Monday, or we might do something else. So if some of you's got something that you're wanting to see, if you'll shoot a message in here and put it in the comments, then it may be something that we'll work on and something we can put on a list and get started. We've got a new year here, and we need to be doing some tumblers and getting some things done. I'm hitting it again just a little bit with the heat gun. And now if I were doing this and doing a glitter coat, I only mix 1/8 of a teaspoon, A and B, which is, as you can see, very little. And then I heat my cup, put the epoxy on there, and that makes just that much epoxy cover the whole cup. And I do that, and then I put my glitter on. But with man glitter, as you see, if you look at 1 and 2, or 1 and 1.5, then you can see this is a whole different ball game when you're using man glitter. So now this turner turns really slow, really slow. It gives you plenty of time to get everything rubbed where it needs to be. But I always pull my tape basically right when I get through. Now I might wait a minute or two. Depends on what I've got going, or if I need to get something picked up or cleaned up or whatever. So this turner works a little bit different than the others. So, and I got one of the large footballs on this to hold it. Oh, I think this is going to be really pretty, y'all. And the best I could do, you know how when I did part one and I went in and touched up some of the places that I showed you on there, and a few specks of glitter, and I put black on them, and you can still see some specks of glitter. So I don't know where the glitter's coming from. It's one of those things, you just do the best you can do, and it still pops up there. And I do see that the water slides are doing basically what I thought they would do. So I'll be able to show you that. It's not real noticeable, but it is to me because I've had it happen and I'm looking for it. So, but I'll show you. I'll have to wait and show you probably after it dries for you to really see what I'm talking about. And remember, when I do this, I'll leave a little bit of epoxy. This one's turning so slow, I'll have to slow down. I'll leave a little bit of epoxy in my cup, so if I have any fish eyes come up, I can then go in and put, with my popsicle stick, just a drop on each fish eye, and then it makes it clear up. Most of the time it will. Okay, now I'm going to leave what's in there, and that way I'll have it if I need it. But I don't know if you can see it when it comes around, but you can see sort of a silvery look where the water slide is, and that's what causes it. If you put it on your paint and on your cup without there being a coat of epoxy on there, it shows differently than it does if you've got epoxy on your cup first. So just keep that in mind anytime that you're doing a tumbler, that if you don't put the epoxy on first when you're doing a clear water side, it will leave those spots. I do have another cup that I did back years ago. Usually my boo-boos, the ones that I think would be teaching moments, I usually keep those cups so I can go in and share. Now this I'm just putting on bubbles, and then I'll go back and hit it with a torch. But like the one that I've shown you when I did the fabric cup, and I did not paint it first, and it had rust spots come up on it, and I kept that so that I could show it when I was teaching, to show you how spots like that sometimes come up if you don't prime your cup and paint it before you put your cloth on it. And two, if you're putting cloth on one and it has white in your pattern and you left it silver, then that white is not going to show up white like it's supposed to. It won't look as white and as bright as you would want it to. Okay, now I'm going to hit it with the torch. And this turns so slow. Have to keep your torch moving when you use it. You don't want to leave it in one spot. Okay, now we're going to pull the tape when it gets around to where I can start it. And I don't think this one will have to have another coat of epoxy. It looks good right now, but you never know. As you know, if you do tumblers, you never know till it's through. Now this one does, when I pull the tape, there's usually always a spot like that one right there where the tape overlaps that I have to clean. Now we'll pull the tape off the bottom. This big cup, I just can't get it all in the frame for you to see it. I'll pick it up when I get through and let you see it. Let's let this come around one more time so I can get that little spot, and then I'll turn it where you can see it in the camera and see the whole cup. Here it comes slowly. Okay. Let me move that out of the way. And this one doesn't have a long cord on it. I don't know if I can get it to turn or not. Hear my stuff falling? Okay. Maybe that's where you can see it. And up close, I've got the foam cord here. I can't let it go because it will get down in the epoxy. I don't know if you can see the snowflakes. That's where we flicked white paint. And remember, when I did the white paint, I didn't do just the paint. I watered it down so that it wouldn't have any clumps in it, so that you could see the snow on it and it wouldn't be heavy. But that's it. And then when I get it to turning, I'll do a video of it with the light on it where we can see a little bit more what it looks like. And I'm finagling my cords now, y'all. So this turner doesn't have a long cord on it like the one that Rick made me, which is, oh, it's wonderful because I don't have to get any kind of a drop cord or anything. But that's all there is to that cup, and this has been part 3, and I hope this is something that each one of you will enjoy doing. I see one thing that, and I may go back and do that and just put another coat of epoxy on it, like when it comes around right now. I'll show you. If you can see right in here where the snow comes all the way up to the mountains, I may go back in and just use a sponge and put some white on up into the mountains right in here, and right up under them here, and then right up in here, and especially on this side over here. And I think that'll make it look a little bit better, a little bit more realistic, like all the way up to right in there into the mountains. Because if you look at this, it's coming around now, this section right here, you can see how pretty it looks, where it goes all the way up into the mountain. And it looks just like snow. There it comes around. You can see snow dusted on it. But that's it, and that's that cup. Now it'll be finished. Like I said, I may go in and just do that just because I want to, and put another coat of epoxy on it for that, because I think it will add to it to do it that way. So this is part 3, and then like I said, if you see something that you think that you might want to do, that you would like to see, just put it in the comments, and we'll go in and see, because I was thinking about doing the one that looks like a baseball bat and using alcohol inks. And so that's what I've got on my mind right now. But if there's something that you guys want to see, then we can do something different. So y'all have a great rest of the weekend and be blessed, and I'll see you later. I want to get that cord in there, so I'll see you. Bye.